After sending a congratulations card to a couple on the day their newborn son died. The letter was generated by a computer at Milton Keynes General Hospital and sent to parents Matthew Broughton and Lorna Howell by mistake. An inquest in Milton Keynes was told that Alex Broughton died in December, a day after being born at the hospital. The hospital has apologised. The inquest into Alex's death continues.
The Chelmsford MP and Junior Health Minister Simon Burns has insulted the Speaker in the House of Commons by calling him a stupid, sanctimonious dwarf. It happened during health questions after the Speaker, John Bercow, told Mr Burns to address his remarks through the chair and not to speak directly to backbenchers. Mr Burns' comments weren't picked up by the microphones but were heard by other MPs sitting nearby. Mr Bercow's office has said he won't be pursuing the matter any further.
An ex-Premier League footballer has denied headbutting and trying to throttle his sister at her home in Bedford.
Yes, the former West Ham and Norwich defender Calum Davenport is accused of causing actual bodily harm in an incident which saw him stabbed in both legs. Rhiannon Mills was in court today and joins us now. Rhiannon.
Well, today we've been hearing a lot more evidence about what happened on the 22nd of August between a sister and her footballer boyfriend. We've heard evidence from the neighbours who first made those 999 calls after hearing a little boy shouting at somebody to get off his mummy. We also heard from the police who were first to arrive at the scene. But most importantly today we heard from Calum Davenport himself, for the first time revealing his side of what happened that night, his goal to clear his name. For the former West Ham and Tottenham defender Calum Davenport, this was his day to defend himself. Arriving at Luton Crown Court accused of attacking his sister during a fight over her plans to have a baby with her mixed-race boyfriend. Dressed in navy, Davenport told the jury how him and his father had been drunk when they arrived at his sister's house on the 22nd of August. She went to make them a cup of tea and everything was fine for the whole time that they were there, except when they mentioned her pregnancy, and then the mood changed. It was explained how Calum had previously helped his sister Cara, giving her money to support her 4-year-old son Calum Jr. But in statements to police at Colley Road in Bedford that night, Cara claimed the argument had started when he asked if she could financially cope with her new pregnancy. Her brother had then become racist about her new boyfriend, called her a disgrace to the family, and then went on to try and strangle, headbutt and bite her. Recalling the events of that night, Davenport said that he'd restrained his sister out of self-defence after she'd hit and punched his father. He said in court she'd lashed out and hit him. I tried to intervene and get in the middle of them. I grabbed hold of her wrist to restrain her. It was then that we fell on the stairs and our heads collided. The former footballer denies using racist language and assaulting his sister. When asked by the defence if he had a problem with her going out with a mixed-race man, he said no, that wasn't the issue. Tomorrow, Davenport and his family will return to court, with the jury expected to be sent out to reach a verdict.
Rhiannon, what else did the jury hear today?
Well, this morning a lot was made of discrepancies between police statements were taken on that night regarding who, if anyone, used racist language that night. There was also a statement from Cara, Calum's sister, in which she said that she pushed and slapped her brother first before he then retaliated. A lot was also made of this morning the fact that Cara had said all along to police that she didn't want to press charges against her brother because he had a family and his footballing career. But because of the police's domestic violence policy, they had to take those statements and it had to be investigated. Tomorrow, though, it will be up to the jury to decide whether any crime was committed.
Rhiannon, thanks very much. Well, it's 14 minutes past 6. Do stay with us this Tuesday evening.
Still to come, we've got an unholy row for you.
The Care Quality Commission has removed 2 of the 5 conditions placed on Basildon Hospital NHS Trust's registration in April. The Commission also says the Trust has made improvements on the other conditions, including the hospital's cleanliness, but says it still has some way to go to have them removed. The deadlines for the conditions to be met are July and August.
We now monitor the standards of cleaning on every ward area and every department in the hospital every week. and measure it against national standards, and we have set a target of 97% compliance with national standards that are set for all of the NHS, and we're achieving that and more in most areas, most weeks.
Lawyers for the former Essex County Council leader Lord Hanningfield have argued that he and 3 Labour MPs accused of fiddling their expenses were not attempting to take themselves above the law. The 4 claim that parliamentary privilege means Parliament, rather than the courts, should deal with any alleged wrongdoing. The Tory peer from West Hanningfield near Chelmsford faces 6 charges of making dishonest claims for travelling expenses. The hearing continues.
Now, it's helped improve our economy by funding projects such as Great Yarmouth's new outer harbour.
But today the government announced the East of England Development Agency will be axed, putting hundreds of jobs at risk. The coalition government say they want to give local communities more say on how to create jobs rather than regional quangos.
Earlier, we spoke to our political correspondent, Matthew Hudson, and I began by asking him what kind of things EDA had been involved in.
Well, EDA is based just outside of Cambridge, and its remit is to help stimulate the region's economy by helping local businesses and helping people to acquire new skills. And in our part of the region, it contributed towards Great Yarmouth's new £50 million outer harbour. It gave £1 million to Colchester United's new stadium next to the A12. And it's heavily involved in Norwich's bid to become Britain's city of culture, something which could, of course, bring in millions of pounds to the local economy.
But as expected, regional development agencies are no more. What's to replace them?
That's right, EDA heading for the scrap heap to be replaced by something called local enterprise partnerships, which will take on the job of trying to help the region's businesses. Now, this is going to mean job losses. Regional development agencies have a budget of £1.5 billion nationally and employ about 3,000 people. Many of those jobs are going to go, but it's not yet clear exactly how much money will end up being saved. At the same time, the government announced today a £1 billion regional investment fund that aims to help create jobs in the private sector. Having said that, it's primarily aimed at regions which have a disproportionately large number of public sector jobs at the moment. The Eastern region isn't one of those, so how much we're going to benefit really is in doubt.
OK, Matt, thanks very much.
A Suffolk MP has regained control of her Twitter account after a hacker used it to make offensive comments about the Prime Minister's wife. Followers of the Therese Coffey were sent rude messages concerning Samantha Cameron and a number of MPs. She says it took 5 days for Twitter to sort out the problem.
It was unpleasant for a start, what somebody else was doing on my behalf, supposedly. And it was frustrating, you're right. The amount of hours it takes to try and correct these things when you're supposed to be working on behalf of your constituents or scrutinising the government, it's just a frustrating use of time.
The norovirus has struck again. 4 wards at West Suffolk Hospital at Bury St Edmunds have closed to new admissions after a suspected outbreak. 20 patients have symptoms of the highly contagious vomiting bug. The affected areas are now being deep cleaned, and the wards will stay shut until at least 72 hours after the patients have recovered.
Ryanair is cutting its winter flights from Stansted Airport. The budget airline will carry 1.5 million fewer passengers than last winter. Chief Executive Michael O'Leary claims airport departure tax is the reason for the capacity reduction. Ryanair will now switch some planes based at the Essex Airport to other European bases where governments have scrapped tourist taxes.
Pet